Thank you, Mr. Wiggins. Ms. Conlon?
On the night of January 11th, 2019, someone was very, very angry. This someone started to physically attack their spouse. They had rage. They were choking their spouse, smothering their spouse. That someone was Michael Redlick. And Danielle Redlick had no choice but to defend herself because she was afraid she was going to die. And so she did. The state is right. You are going to hear about the night of January 11th, 2019. You are going to hear about anger. You're going to hear about hatred. You're going to hear about rage. You're going to hear about infidelity that made Michael Redlick angry. You're going to hear about a violent attack in the kitchen. And then you're going to hear about Danielle Redlick and how she reacted in confusion, in despair, in trauma. You will hear that, yes, Danielle Redlick did stab Michael Redlick. And you're going to hear how she reacted in that shock, in that confusion, and in that despair. You'll hear that her reaction afterwards, she runs to the master bathroom in fear from Michael Redlick. And this is the room that she had retreated to the night before, where Michael Redlick had followed her and had kicked open that locked bathroom door. And when she came out of that bathroom, when she thought it was safe, she sees a trail of blood that leads all the way from the bathroom to the living room. And you will hear about her emotions on seeing this, and that she reacted in confusion because she had only stabbed him one time in the shoulder, and he had followed her to the bathroom. But you're also going to hear about how we got to this point, how Danielle Redlick knew and recognized that the danger that she was facing that night was different than the other incidents of abuse that had happened throughout their marriage. So let's go back to the beginning. In Cleveland, Ohio, Danielle's mom is separated. Her name is Kathleen. And Kathleen is separated, she starts dating, and she meets somebody. Danielle's mom, Kathleen, and this man love each other, and so they move in together. And they're together for 3 years before they get married. And that person becomes Danielle's stepfather. That man was Michael Redlick. Now, 3 months after they get married, Kathleen passes away from breast cancer. And Michael Redlick still has one of Kathleen's daughters, 16-year-old daughter. So he asked Danielle to move into his house and to help take care of her sibling. And she agrees. So she moves in to help take care of her sister. And Michael worked for the Cleveland Browns. And he promises to help give her references, to connect her with job connections. Danielle has a second job at a bar. And Michael starts visiting this bar at night, more and more frequently to visit Danielle. And then soon, Michael starts inviting her to concerts, to events, to things that she's never experienced before. And she's worried about how this relationship will impact her family. But Michael dismisses those concerns because it's not really an equal partnership. Michael views Danielle and treats her in an authoritative way. And during this time in Ohio, there was a time where they were driving in the car and Michael hits her and Danielle hits him back. Now, Michael starts to want to go to a different job, the Memphis Grizzlies. So he interviews for a new position there, and he gets the job. He moves, and he wants Danielle to come with him, but she doesn't want to go yet because she doesn't want to leave her family. So he buys her plane tickets so that she can come visit him every weekend. And he promises and tells her for a year that with his contacts, she could get a job, a promising job there. And she finally agrees, and so she moves down. And Michael is pretty violent with Danielle on several occasions. You will hear about one particular incident where Michael punched her in the face, bruised her face, and chipped her tooth. It was so bad that Michael had to take her to go see a doctor. So he takes her to his team's doctor, Dr. Frederick Azar. And Dr. Azar sees her injuries, refers her to a dentist and a plastic surgeon. You will hear from Dr. Azar during this trial. And there was another incident that just accidentally happened to be witnessed by someone else. They were living in Memphis. Danielle and Michael were home. Danielle's sister was coming by to pick up her daughter, Melanie's daughter. And when Melanie walked through the doors, she could hear screaming and yelling. And so she walks towards that yelling and screaming. She walks into their master bedroom and sees that Danielle is pinned to the closet by Michael. You will also hear from Melanie during this trial. Now, Michael and Danielle have their first child, Jaden. They have their second child, Sawyer. And throughout these years, Michael is unhappy, and so unhappy with his work. So when his boss leaves for the 49ers, he gets a job with the 49ers and they move there. And after a while over there, he is unhappy with his work. So then he moves to the Indy Motor Speedway, gets a job there. During this time, Michael is drinking heavily. He is being more aggressive. He is unhappy. And Danielle finds out that he's got low testosterone and erectile dysfunction. And Michael's issue with ED becomes a preoccupation. Now they moved to Orlando in 2014. Michael takes a position with UCF. Their marriage is deteriorating. Michael's doctor begins to prescribe higher levels of testosterone. He's being aggressive, more aggressive with Danielle. There's an incident where he does something to her and she has to go to the emergency room. There's another one where Michael loses control, sees red, accelerates the car, and if Danielle had not jumped out of the way, he would have hit her. So she reports that to the Winter Park Police Department. But when they tell her that they're going to interview Michael, she's afraid that Michael is going to get in trouble. So she walks out of the Winter Park Police Department. Now Danielle discovers that Michael is having an affair. And Danielle knows that the marriage is just falling apart and that's not healthy for her, it's not healthy for the children. So she's the one who files for divorce in March of 2017. But Michael just begs her to come home, to get back together. Michael threatens Danielle financially, threatens to take away the children, keep the house, and send her back to Cleveland. So Danielle relents. And during those divorce proceedings, Michael avoids service of process of those divorce papers. Now, Michael moves back into the house November of 2018. He's sexually aggressive, he's physically aggressive, and everything is focused on sex, and the injections aren't working properly. And by the end of 2018, Danielle joins dating apps. They're only casual text and flirtation. She never meets up with the men. On January 10th, 2019, Michael Redlick discovers those texts with other men. And that is when all hell broke loose. On January 10th, 2019, Danielle left her cell phone on the bedside, and she goes to shower. When she comes out of the shower, Michael is sitting in the corner of the bedroom. He's angry. He's upset. He's angry and upset because he's discovered a text from a man named Caesar. And she tries to explain that she joined these dating apps when they were going through their divorce. And he's so angry. He's like, do you have plans with your lover boy? He's very sarcastic. She tries to go get dressed. He follows her. He's angry and fuming. And she's afraid that he's going to hit her, but he doesn't. So she leaves the house and she goes to, just to get out of the house, she goes to DSW, she goes to the Gap. Michael follows her. He confronts her at the Gap, and he's fuming, and he's yelling at her in front of the store. They walk to her car. He walks to her car, follows her, and he's still yelling at her. And she just tells him, we'll talk when you're calm. Michael eventually leaves, and Danielle just waits and sits in her car. She has an interview later that afternoon, so she heads home to get prepared for her interview. He seems angrier. So she has her computer set up in the kitchen table, and he slams the computer shut and says, you're not going to get a job in this town. So Danielle gets her computer, she walks out to her car, rolls up all the windows, and starts her interview. Michael follows her and is pounding on the windows, on the door, yelling at her. So she drives off. Later that night, she heads home. And Michael is there, he's slamming things, he's drinking. And Michael confronts Danielle. More of the same. Are you with your lover? Asking sarcastic questions about lover boy. So she leaves again. He texts her more of the same questions. Where are you? Are you with your lover boy? During this time, Sawyer, who is the son, is inside the house. It's Michael, Sawyer, and Jaden. Michael and Jaden are screaming at each other. Sawyer is scared. Danielle finds out about it. Danielle gets dinner for the family, brings that dinner home. And Michael is still upset. He is still angry. He is grabbing at Danielle. He's getting aggressive. It gets so bad, she runs into the master bathroom, locks it behind her. Michael runs behind her and kicks open the door, damages that locked bathroom door. So Danielle runs to a closet to hide. Now, all the kids are in the house, and Jaden lets Danielle know that she has a friend who's going to let her spend the night, so she needs a ride. And Danielle sees how violent Michael is getting and how drunk he's getting, and so she has to get out of there too. Danielle takes Jaden to her friend's house and then goes somewhere else to park her car and just wait it out. Sawyer stayed in his room. And Danielle is getting updates from Sawyer as to when it is safe for her to come back home, because she knows that Michael is going to pass out, and is going to pass out pretty soon because he'd been drinking a lot. So Sawyer is trying to tiptoe around the house to turn on lights for Danielle. Make sure that, yes, Dad has passed out. He's asleep. And Sawyer goes to open up a garage door so that Danielle can sneak back into her own home. And Danielle waits until the coast is clear before she sneaks back in. Now, the next day, Michael wakes up, and he wakes up screaming for Danielle. Where are you? He goes upstairs to the loft where she's sleeping. He is upset, mad at her today, and threatening her. He leaves for work. And fast forward to that afternoon when Danielle picks Jaden up from school. When Michael gets home, he demands of Danielle, you better have a good excuse as to where you've been. Michael is still angry, and he leaves to go buy a new bottle of vodka. Danielle goes to take a shower, and Michael harasses her there. And that night, Michael has to go coach Sawyer's baseball game, and Danielle drives separately to go to that game. And the kids, Sawyer and Jaden, both had plans that were made a lot earlier about not sleeping at the house. So they have sleepovers that were pre-planned. So after the game, Michael gets home, Danielle leaves the house, and around 10 p.m. she goes to McDonald's. After McDonald's, she heads home. And Michael is there. He is pounding down the vodka. He grabs her food, and then he goes at her. He is in a rage, and this rage is the angriest that she has ever seen him. It's worse than any of those other incidents. It's different. He pushes her down. She goes to her knees. He pulls her up by the hair. He shoves her to the kitchen island. He chokes. He smothers her. She reaches into a drawer. She grabs a knife. She stabs him one time. He is stunned. He releases her, and she runs to the bathroom. Michael follows her to the bathroom, and he is still yelling at her. And eventually, he's not yelling anymore. And time ticks by. She waits till it's safe for her to come out. And when she opens the door of her hiding place, her whole world changed. She's not expecting to see what she saw. Why? Because she only stabbed him one time in the shoulder. He didn't fall in front of her. He, in fact, followed her to the bathroom, and he was still yelling. She wasn't trying to kill him. She was trying to protect herself on someone who was bent on attacking her. So she panics. She's scared. She's traumatized, she's confused, she's in shock. You will learn that it was one stab wound. That is the crime. When Danielle walked out of the bathroom, her safe haven, the same place that she had retreated to the night before, when Michael kicked open that locked bathroom, yes, Danielle was confused and she was panicked. And she reacted in that confusion and panic. The question that you will need to answer at the end of this trial is, at the time that Danielle Redlick stabbed Michael Redlick, was that done in self-defense? That night, Michael Redlick felt betrayed, he was angry, and he attacked Danielle. At the end of this trial, we will ask you for a verdict that is consistent with the evidence, consistent with the law, and that is a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you, Ms. Conlon. State your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. State calls Officer Stanford. John Stanford.
John Stanford.